Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, hi. If you're not new, you might notice I'm switching things up. Today will be my first of many tier rankings. I am a multi-stan of various groups and solo artists, so I thought I'd rank the names of all the fandoms I'm a part of. First, let's get into breaking down the tiers and what they mean. At the bottom, we have Can We Get a Revote, Please? This is the tier for names I like the least, that I wish we could perhaps just change to something else. Then we have Just Okay. I don't hate these names, but I don't love them either. Next, Simple but Sweet, just like it says. Names in this tier are nothing extravagant, either don't have a super special meaning, or just don't sound very unique or creative, but there's nothing inherently wrong with them, and are nice enough to enjoy. Then we've got Cute But Don't Question It, for names I think are really good as long as you don't get too deep into the meaning of them. Then Exquisite, for names that are just that, just excellent name choices 100%. And finally, the highest tier, No Room for Imperfection. It's not 100%, it's 110%, it's an A+, not just a perfect score, but extra credit for being the best fandom name. From the way it sounds, to what it means, clever wordplay, the whole shebang. So without further ado, let's get started, but one quick disclaimer. This is all just my opinion, it's just for funsies. We all know that most K-pop fandom names are a little cheesy, a lot cheesy kind of, but you know, but are also crafted with a lot of good intentions and sincere meanings. That being said, if I say anything negative about a certain fandom name, it's not to downplay or disregard the meaning behind it. It's just simply my opinion on the arrangement of letters chosen to carry said meaning. So no hurt feelings, please. Let's get started with our first one, which is Dreamcatcher, their fandom name being Insomnia. So I've read that the fandom name for Dreamcatcher is Insomnia, not insomnia like the sleep disorder, but referring to somnia, the Latin word for sleep or dream. So insomnia, meaning in dream. Named this way so Dreamcatcher and their fans can have good memories together even when dreaming. And I like that concept of a fandom name meaning, but I feel like when it comes to Dreamcatcher and their fandom, the name misses the mark, even if good intentioned. I think that there could have been a better alternative that would have the same meaning without it being a homonym for a condition people suffer with. So for this one, I am going to respectfully put it in Can We Get a Revote, Please? Next up, we have ONEUS and their fandom name To Moon, how fans revolve around ONEUS like the Earth and the Moon, which is a great meaning, but I think it can be summed up with a better name. I don't hate To Moon, but I don't love it either. 'Tis just okay. And next up we have one of my ults, iKON, and their fandom name being Iconic, meaning that their fans are a part of iKON. This one I love because there's no much deeper meaning or hidden significance. You can hear Iconic and know exactly what group it's tied to. It's easy to remember, it's a real word but with a spelling change up to match the group name's wordplay, and it just sounds cool. What fandom are you in? Oh, I'm an Iconic. I remember a conversation with a non-iconic friend, and he said that iKON fans were iconic, and I was like, yes, you're right. They quite literally are iconic. That is their name. And it's perfect. It's simple, stunning, cool, and may I say, iconic. So iconic that there is no room for imperfection. And there we have our first fandom name to get in our highest tier, and very well served. Next, we have SF9, my other ult, and their fandom name being Fantasy. So the word fantasy, like by itself, is very pretty. I love that it starts with F, as in the F in SF9. The name represents the fulfillment of hopes and dreams. What's not to love? It's super cute, just don't question it too much. Because when you find out that each letter in fantasy stands for something, that's when it gets deeper. Fantasy. Future. Accompany. Next. together. Effect SF9 U, which means I have no idea. There is probably a deeper meaning, but I think it just missed the mark with me and it doesn't make too much sense. I think we could have just stopped at fantasy being a pretty word, and the deeper meaning behind what each letter stands for is just a bit too much. Then we got IU, and her fandom name is UENA. This name is hard to understand right away for non-Korean speakers, but once you do your research, it's actually quite simple. U, just meaning like you in English, and then E means love, and Na means me. So it just means you love me, and yes, Queen IU, we do. And we also love this name. It matches her stage name as well, IU, which literally just means I and you, as in you and me, us. The meaning is straight out in the name, but still pretty subtle, and not to mention, UENA is a beautiful made-up word, even if it is a little visually confusing, but I think it's exquisite, and I love being a UENA. Next up, we have our resident co-ed group, KARD, with their fandom name being Hidden Card. It makes sense. It goes along with the deck of cards theme the group has, and the alternate spelling with the K matches, but I think it feels a bit on the basic side for me. I like the idea of fans being an artist's hidden card or lucky secret weapon, but the phrase hidden card just doesn't feel exciting to me, but it makes sense, so I can't complain about it too much. Therefore, I think it's just okay. Next up, we have Ihai, and her fandom name is Ice Cream. I don't know if there's a deeper meaning, but I like what it implies. Lehigh is sweet and her music has a lot of flavor, and they even managed to include her name in it subtly, Lehigh Ice Cream. Maybe the subtlety is why I'm not ranking it higher, but there's nothing wrong with simple if it's this sweet of a name. Alright, next up we have GOT7, with their fandom name being I Got 7 or Agase. The way this fandom name has layers of perfection. So first, I got 7, as in referring to the lucky number 7, as in how lucky am I as a fan that I have got 7. It just feels like every time you say the name, it's like celebrating the fact that out of all the music artists in the world, how lucky is it that I got 7. Then we have probably the most popularized fandom name, which is Agase, short for I Got 7, which in Korean means baby bird, and birds being GOT7's mascot, which I'm actually not sure if it came before or after coining the name Agase, but either way it fits perfectly. It's cute, its meaning is simple but clever, and it ties back to something that symbolizes the group. There is just no room for imperfection, which is why it goes in our top tier. Now we have MONSTA X and their fandom name, Monbebe. I love this. Just hearing it with no further explanation, I love it. Mon bébé. But diving deeper, I love that it means my baby in French, then using baby as a term of endearment for fans. It's feeding my Delulu brain. And I love the contrast between the name of the artist and the fans, MONSTA X having an aggressive sound to it, monster, and the fandom name being really soft and wholesome. Mon bébé, my baby. I think it perfectly reflects MONSTA X's sweet and sinful duality as a group. It just works really well, which is why I think it's exquisite. Then we've got everyone's favorite K-band, The Rose. Their fandom name is Black Rose, and I've heard two different things when it comes to what actual black roses mean. I've heard that it means protection and also eternal love. Either way, both are beautiful and straightforward sentiments for fans and their artists to share, and just the phrase Black Rose, though simple, just by adding a color to the group's name, is very auditorily pleasing, so I think it's simple, but it is sweet. Next up, we have Purple Kiss and their fandom name, Glory, as in Purple Kiss and Glory. I love a good portmanteau, big fan of shipping words, but not this time. I adore Purple Kiss as people, as music, artists, and just for having a really cool name. Like, Purple Kiss is a badass group name. I love it. It's cool, it's bold, it's exciting. And Plory is just none of that for me. I always feel like the group name and the fandom name should match vibe, or if not, like, contrast it in a pleasing way, and I don't think that Plory does it for me, so if we could, can we get a revote, please? Next, we have the king himself, Kim Hanbin, BI, and his fandom name is ID. I like it a lot. It's cute and short, and it matches its artist in the sense that BI is a two-letter word that's short for something, like ID is with identity. Lots of artists have fandom names that align with the meaning of their name, but I think BI's is just really special. With BI's stage name meaning B identity and the fandom name ID meaning that we are a part of his identity, I think it just shows how close the relationship between BI and his fans really is. And I think it's really cute. So I actually think it's pretty exquisite. Next up, we have Seo In Guk, and his fandom name is Heart Rider. I actually couldn't find any information as to why Heart Rider is In Guk's fandom name, or if there is a meaning behind it, but I like it. I don't quite understand the significance behind it or how it relates to Seo In Guk as an artist, but it sounds cool enough and it's cute as long as you don't try to look for any deeper meaning, because I don't know if there is one. Then we have SHINee, and their fandom name being SHINee World or Shawl. This one I have no real critiques for why I don't like it more than I do, but I also don't strongly dislike it. I like the idea of a fandom being compared to a world. It makes sense. The sphere in which a fandom and their artists coexist is a lot like a world, and combining SHINee and world into Shawl is a more fun and shorter way of saying it. It's not a name that gets me super excited, but it does get its job done, and I like it enough. Now we have Wonho and his fandom name, WEenie. So, WEenie is supposed to be short for We Are New Ending, and we need, as in Wonho and his fans have a deep need, a necessity for each other. Which is beautiful, but not gonna lie, I did have to get used to this one. It does feel odd to call myself a weenie, but I think it's just one of those things where native English speakers have to reinforce the fact that there are only so many ways to arrange letters and pronounce them, and that sometimes a word in one language means something completely different in another, and we just have to be mature enough to move past that. I almost put this name in the "Can we get a revote please" tier, but after learning its meaning and that Wonho created the name himself, my appreciation for it has increased, and I think it's pretty okay. Alright, now we have one of my recent faves, XDINARY heroes, and their fandom name, Villains. I can proudly, or not so proudly, say that I was a part of the voting process for choosing XDINARY heroes' name for their fandom. And yeah, I'm glad we're not ex-hoes or flats or flat roses or sidekicks. I know that was a really popular one, but I just didn't like it. But I'm still not the happiest with villains. I understand it, that villains are needed for heroes to exist, just like fans and their artists. But XDINARY's tagline is "We are all heroes," and their whole concept promotes the idea of anyone having the potential to be a hero, and their fans are the complete opposite of a hero? That part just confuses me. I actually really liked the name Synergy. The alternate spelling to match XDINARY looked really cool. And the definition of synergy, the interaction or cooperation of two or more organizations, substances, or other agents to produce a combined effect greater than the sum of their separate effects? I think that is an even more meaningful significance than the one behind the fandom name Villains. So I know it won't happen, but in a world where it could, can we get a revote, please? Villains isn't an awful name, but I wish it was something different. I'm still happy to be a villain though, but yeah. Then we've got TXT, Tomorrow by Together, and their fandom name MOA, meaning Moments of Alwaysness. I understand the sentiment, but phrasing to me feels a bit forced. The The word MOA is super cute and rolls off the tongue perfectly, and the words it stands for mean that each moment shared by TXT and their fans will be forever, which is really beautiful, not to mention the double meaning of MOA meaning to gather or collect in Korean, meaning fans and TXT are gathering fragments of their dreams. It's very well thought out, but I feel like the meaning is just so layered in a way that makes it a bit difficult to understand without deeply explaining all of that and more, and there might have been a simpler way to cover all of that ground. So I think it is cute as long as you don't question it. So last on our tier ranking list, we have ATEEZ present and their fandom name ATEEZ, which is a portmanteau of ATEEZ and destiny, meaning that ATEEZ and their fans were destined to meet. Not only is the meaning wholesome and straightforward, but it just sounds really nice. The word ATEEZ is really cute, and though it's a combination of two words, it doesn't sound too weird or obviously made up. And I feel like if you were to say it out loud to a non-ATEEZ, they could still spell it, and when explaining it, it makes sense right off the bat. Not only that, I feel like it even matches the group's vibe and concept. There are a lot of fate-like things that happen to the ATEEZ members leading up to them being in the group that feel a lot like destiny. And the word destiny, similar to destination, lines up with their pirate concept of going on adventures together and starting rebellions and crafting their own destiny with their fans. To me, this is just such a good name that there is no room for imperfection. And there we have my tier ranking of names of K-pop fandoms I'm in. Thank you for watching, and sorry that video ended up being so long, so double thank you if you actually watched the whole thing. I will definitely try condensing my video lengths in the future, or at least trying to split them up. So stick around while I get better at this. Give this a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you're interested in more. See you next time.